These are extraordinary measures, I acknowledge that. I know that not all Australians that live in New South Wales support these changes, but we have decided it's the best way of ensuring we do everything possible to keep the people of New South Wales safe. I want to thank the Leader of the Opposition for her support in the passage of this legislation. In the end, I think the Greens abstained, so the passage of this bill required cooperation from the coalition, and we got that. And I know that that happened in a short space of time. I know that the negotiations and the talks had to happen over a short space of time, but we appreciate the goodwill in which we were able to get much needed reform in New South Wales through the Parliament. I want to make it clear that this isn't the end of change. Sydney and New South Wales has changed forever as a result of that terrorist activity last Sunday. And we know it's our responsibility to do everything we can to keep the people of New South Wales safe, and that means further change in the new year. We've given a commitment to that. We're currently looking at other areas of the law that are urgently required to confront hate speech, confront Islamist terrorism in our community, and to send a clear message that if anyone's hoping to divide Australian against Australian in Australia's largest jurisdiction, then we'll do everything we possibly can to confront it. Thank you for your cooperation, everyone here too, the media, over a tough period of time. We appreciate the opportunity to give you updates and your understanding when we didn't have the full information available to us. We've endeavoured to get that out and make sure it's accurate as quickly as possible. And I'm going to pass over to the Police Minister, the Attorney General's here for questions too, and then we'll wrap up. Yes?
Yep. Yeah, I want to thank you all too for coming out, sometimes several times a day. It's been a lot for our community, and you're all part of our community too. So I know that you are all feeling like we are, that our world has changed. Look, on the Sunday that our world changed, when the Premier and I were both out at Bondi, we knew that we had to take decisive and swift action, and that is what we have done. We knew that we had to make legislative changes, tough legislative changes, tough to get through the Parliament, and here we are on Christmas Eve, and the Legislative Council didn't finish till 3 o'clock this morning. So it has been tough, people have different views, but we've managed to get that legislation through, and I strongly believe that it will make change. It will make change to keep our community safe. It sends a strong message to our Jewish community. We have your back. We will make sure, as the Premier just said, if we have to make further change, we'll be doing exactly that. Thanks very much.
Yeah, we're happy to take questions.
Premier, how was last night?
Well, look, the Legislative Council did their job. I think the people of New South Wales expect them to do just that. This is important changes, important legislation. It's unusual that we're back here on Christmas Eve, the day before nearly everybody breaks for a bit of time with family and friends, but we couldn't wait. This was urgent.
What exactly will the government implement?
Some of them will be assented to this afternoon, so the number of firearms, that provision will be in place as of this afternoon, as will the extinguishment of the appeals through the Administrative Decisions Tribunal. So the Police Commissioner will have the final word. They'll be in place immediately, as will protest law reforms. They'll be in place almost immediately now the legislation's passed. There are other elements of the gun bill that will take a bit of time, but we have to set up and fund the buyback registry, and I'm aiming to do it as soon as possible, but it's going to take a bit of time.
So what happens if you have more than 4 guns after legislation changes now
If you purchase them from now, you fall foul of the law. Obviously, there's going to be a provision in place. We won't ascend the buyback provisions until the money's available and the scheme's ready to go. So if you've got more than 4 as of this afternoon, and you're not in breach of the law, at some point you will be soon. Yeah. Yeah, it's not my decision, it's the Police Commissioner's decision, but I believe in the circumstances that should happen, but I'm going to leave it up to him to make that call.
How do you see Australia Day playing out this invasion day rally? Do those people need to think they need to...
No, I mean, look, obviously assemblies like that can take place. It's just that marches through the city through a Form 1, which I understand hasn't traditionally been part of that protest in any event. If it were the case that the Police Commissioner made that designation, we'll obviously have to abide by the laws of the land. Now, we've got a few steps to go through before then, so I want to make it clear that that decision's for the Police Commissioner. But we want to make sure we're in a position to keep the people of New South Wales safe, and I don't resolve from the fact at all that in these circumstances of heightened tensions, words can lead to actions, and I think the vast majority of Australians that live in New South Wales support us in relation to these changes. I also note that there's similar legislation being drafted in Victoria to New South Wales, and I think that that's an indication that these are proportionate but necessary measures in the circumstances we're in. The circumstances we are in.
You're doing more work on hate speech laws. It's February. There'll be more to say on that. Can you give us an indication of how far they're extending, and you're also taking advice from certain communities at the moment?
Yeah, no, I'm not going to give running commentary on that. I think I've got to be very deliberate and strict about changes to the law, but I do need to tell the people in New South Wales we're not done with reform. We're not going to be done until we've done everything possible to keep the people of this state safe, and there's a recognition from this government that hate speech leads to hateful actions. That's what happens in even civilised communities like ours, and we're prepared to take action and steps to keep the community safe.
There's been reports started out by police and fire registry system the next registry. How will that be a setback for the fire
Obviously, the registry is going to need a significant uplift, and we've talked about that as a government, and we'll provide that funding for them. We're going to be asking them to do a lot more, but the reason for that is so that there is clearer oversight, so that there is a touch point for every weapon in this state and every licence holder, that there is vision for the cops system to be able to identify that who is a member of a club, that they are adhering to their requirements for their licence classification at that club, and we will have much more oversight of that. And I think that compliance is so important in this, and who we are giving licences to. That's what this is about, making sure that we have a system that is run by the New South Wales Police Registry and have that oversight and that confidence in the system.
So, Minister, how long will the terror declaration that the Commission made on December 14th case?
Are you talking about two different things? Apart? Yeah, they're two.
So the terror incident, the powers that are triggered.
14 days till Sunday. Oh, 7 days, sorry. I apologize. I've been advised that at that period from 2020 till 2023 there was a very large backlog. The registry was not working at its capacity. In fact, it was a shambles. It appears that it was quite normal for a licence to be issued between 2 to 3 years. Now that's unacceptable. However, their systems were upgraded significantly in 2023, and since then, that hasn't been my experience as Minister that we've had those delays.
Minister, have you heard about increasing the cost of this Bravery at all? Hate speech towards communities and gifts because
Look, police for everybody in this state. We are very lucky that that is how our police respond. They want to keep all of the community safe. They are working with the community broadly. I'll advise you that the Commissioner has met with all the faith groups and had discussions with them, and he wants to make sure that there is harmony in our community and that they will be there to keep all of the community safe.
Premier,
PM has...
Premier, the Australian President has been invited to become and there might be like, what are the safeguards in light of the new laws that have passed that move on power is going to be heavy-handed and proportionate? Because we've seen a few incidents where it's not about theft. So to prevent these type of incidents, what would be the safeguards for them?
Oh look, Frida, I'm not aware of any protests. I understand the invitation's been extended. I don't know whether it's been accepted or not. So I think we should cross that bridge when we come to it. And
Are you
We understand.
worried though? Are you worried though that it could turn like such a solemn moment could turn into a larger political speech, and then police might be involved? We've had previous incidents in Belmore, Factory, and at the ICC with the weapons.
look, I think most people, most decent people, regardless of their views about what's happening around the world, would accept that there must be an opportunity for people to grieve. And there's an essential decency there that I hope kicks in. I do believe that most Australians feel that way, and I hope that peace prevails. But I can't guarantee it, and I can't guarantee it.
Why would you wrap it?
Sorry, what was that?
The ICJ has found that the possibilities for the child that they decided that the state is obviously obviously break those sanctions. There's already been indications that there will be protests and a relation to the state that bans up protests like those will be banned. Does that have any bearing on
No, look, I made it clear. I have to be really clear about this. I know that there are concerns about what's happening around the world. I accept that. There's been protests in the past. I understand the reasons for it. But my responsibility is what's happening right here in Sydney today. And I'm really sorry. I think the vast majority of people here are worried about peace, safety and security for us right here in Sydney. And we've had a devastating and traumatic, violent, murderous attack on members of our community. And that must be the number one responsibility of certainly the New South Wales government, peace and security for us in Sydney. You can internationalise these issues, and I understand that there's concerns about what's happening around the world, but if it manifests itself in violence here, we're going to take action. And I think sort of in a way trying to blur the issues or suggest that there's reasons for it, or to understand that the global context means that there needs to be leniency as it applies to Sydney is wrong. I don't support it. We need to have rules in place that apply to everybody with the view to keeping this city and this state safe.
Premier, why wrap all of these changes into one bill? Because I mean, we saw the Greens say they support parts of the legislation, the gun reforms, they oppose progress changes. I mean, wouldn't it have been a better process to split it up into different parts?
No, I don't think so. I think if it would, all of you have commented about how late we're sitting. We were up against a deadline at Christmas. Even in the context of one bill, it was difficult to get through to Parliament. If it had been cut up into its component parts, we would have been here way past Christmas, in my view. And maybe people who oppose elements of those changes would have loved that, because it would have been, or would have meant, that the passage of the bills would have been stalled. And I'm glad we're not waiting.
the NSW special honours list for heroes of God data? Would you endorse those New South Wales officers and police officers?
Yeah, I mean, we'll look closely at that, but there's been some exceptional examples of bravery from regular members of the public and police officers and surf lifesavers. You know, in all of this terror and all of this sadness and evil, there's been some incredible Australians that are still prepared to put their lives on the line and protect a complete stranger. And as dark as the clouds have been over the last week, I still take a lot of optimism from their heroism, and it's a reminder that we live in a great country and there's still wonderful people here.
Can you influence the opposition leader? She's described this legislation as not best practice lawmaking. What's your take on that? Do you think this is rushed at all, or can you see why people would think it?
No, it's quick. It is quick. We recall Parliament. We're trying to push it through before Christmas, but we couldn't have waited, and we shouldn't have waited.
You mentioned it's unusual to hold so many press conferences as we lead up to Christmas. What are you up to tonight?
Yep, with my family, and we're doing something else, but I can't remember. I'm just one day at a time.
We've got a lot of different voices in
Yeah, you can expect police to have a bigger presence and also have the weapons in place that they deem appropriate to keep the people of the state safe. And that might be not what you'd commonly see with police officers in the street, but they'll respond to the challenges that they have, and they'll respond to the assessment that they make, and we're not going to make any apologies for that. I've told the New South Wales Police, and so is the Police Minister, we will give them whatever resources they need in this heightened period, and I think the people of the state would expect us to do that.
Premier, you talked about moments of contact with terror. Yesterday,
Yes.
Can you tell us a bit more about that visit and maybe couch it in a way as a message to Australians heading into Christmas?
Yes. Thank you. That's a good question. Look, it was an unexpected meeting, but the Masjid Mosque in Rockdale put a Jewish candelabra menorah on their property on Sunday night in recognition of the vigil that was taking place in Bondi, and in solace and support with the Jewish community after so many members of their community have been killed. What a beautiful gesture. I think that's an example of, in my view, where the vast majority of Australians are, including Muslims. I'm surprised, I don't need to say that, they know it, but I want to say it, be unambiguous about it. That community is heartbroken that so many members of the Jewish community have been killed, and they wanted to show their solidarity. So it was an opportunity for David, myself, the Mayor, Edward Dougal, the Minister, Steve Camper, to send a really clear and unambiguous message that an attack on a Muslim, a Jew, a Christian, or anyone who doesn't have a religion at all is an attack on all of us, and we cannot tolerate it. These laws are in place to keep and protect everyone in New South Wales, and that's got to be the message here. We can do better than that, and we're not going to beat this hate with more hate. We've got to come together. As difficult as it is, as many disagreements as we have, our only real prospect of getting through this in the long run is if Australians pull together.
One of the concerns raised about the passage of the legislation is that there could be unintended consequences. So is the government open to tweaking the firearms reforms if any problems arise?
Look, there are going to be consequences with this legislation. I mean, any bill, any change to legislation that inhibits or restricts rights, obviously, is going to be opposed by members of the community and has obligations on members of the public. I acknowledge that. I mean, in a sense, I'm not trying to downplay that or suggest that doesn't exist. I accept, I guess, the implicit criticism that this does restrict rights, whether it's for protests or guns. But in these circumstances, we've got a higher obligation to the public, and as I've said many times, our number one obligation is to keep the public safe. And so these extraordinary measures are necessary right now. Now, I'm not proposing any tweaks or changes. So yeah, I don't want to foreshadow that because I'm not aware of it.
There are certain days of the year where we can expect protests to occur, like Australia Day, like Republic Day. Would you consider giving the police commissioner powers to block protests ahead of this significant day?
No, I mean, the rules and the laws are only in place under very strict conditions, and that is for a terrorism designation. So, you know, I know the overblown rhetoric of some of the opponents to the legislative changes, but we've had very few terrorism designations over the last few years. Right now we have one, but it's the worst terrorism event in the state's history. Okay, thanks everybody. Can I just say Merry Christmas to all of you. And it's been a very difficult week. I hope you can spend time with your family and your friends. Thank you for reporting these very difficult circumstances, and I know it's taken a toll on you as much as it has on members of the public, and we genuinely appreciate it, and thank you for the collaborative way we've been able to engage over the last 10 days. It's been really challenging, but the professionalism shown by the gallery has been extraordinary, so thank you.